It's like the Gambare spirit, right? You have to think that you are like a field of energy, right? And the entire world wants to capture your energy. You have to learn how to preserve and concentrate yourself and focus yourself so that you can cut through the BS and actually direct your life, right? And that itself is not necessarily something that comes naturally. You have to train your mind to actually follow the source of your trajectory with the source of your spirit. You know what I mean? It's like there's 2 points in time, okay? There's 2 points in time, okay? It's everything that you are and where you want to be, where you want to go, what you want to achieve, what you want to solve in the world, right? That's why we have to develop ourselves. We have to use all of the tools available to us and all of the teachings from history and from all of the people around us to gather our willpower and to actually apply our mind. Because everything is mind, everything is mental. The programming within manifests and reflects in the outer world. It's like an algorithm. The outer world is just an algorithm. And you have to learn how to actually create the rhythm of your life. You have to learn timing. You have to learn how to be quiet. But you also need to learn how to speak, how to communicate, how to actually call out to the spirit, to the universe, to people around you. Even if it's embarrassing or uncomfortable or difficult, you have to learn how to communicate. And the truth is, I used to have a speech impediment. Like I used to genuinely not be able to communicate properly. Not many people know this, but you know, I learned English around the age of 6 years old. And when I was in school growing up, when I had friends, when I was in the classroom, everything I said just came out weird. I sounded like a weirdo, and I also slurred and stuttered my words. My thoughts would travel faster than what my brain could generate linguistically and convey linguistically. And to this day, I still struggle, though I don't tell people that. I've spoken to a lot of people in the short period of time of my life, you know. I've had the courage and the confidence to actually communicate with people who are different, older, different cultures, different backgrounds, different histories, different records, you know what I mean? I've also been approached by some very dangerous people, and I've actually been able to sit down and have a conversation with these people. Not that I wanted to, but when the world was rough and I was out on the streets just living my life, you know, I had a job, I had a place to live, but I would always be out and about, you know, in the city or traveling around doing different things. I met a lot of interesting people, truly, and I've never even spoken openly about this, but I've actually met some very concerning people. But I had the confidence to actually be able to communicate with them without fear. Obviously, there were times where I had to step back because I've had experiences where I've met people who are genuinely concerning. But I'm grateful for those situations because you have to actually remember you are a soul, you are a spirit. The universal being that you are, the ineffable essence of your being, is within all things. It's in all beings. And every creature, every person, every strange environment you find yourself in is just an extension of that ineffable essence. Right? Like, we are all consciousness. We are all beings. Use the algorithm of your higher inner being to attract the people and the situations and the things that will teach you. Do you know what I mean? You don't necessarily teach things, you don't necessarily always learn things in school. You learn things through the interactions of the people that you're with and the environments in which people, that you find the people in, right? And there's this state of being which they call the mastermind, right? Is when you have three people, you're the third person, and those three people have, including yourself, have an open awareness, expanded awareness. You know, you're talking about ideas. You open your heart to new perspectives. You know, you talk about anything and everything. In that state of being, in that environment, with those two other people, you access the mastermind. The consciousness potential multiplies. Ideas generate quicker. The wind, the air, the atmosphere, the particles, the etheric, the field, you know, it quickens in the presence of other people who are also as open and as uniquely interested in a certain subject or a certain trajectory in life. You know, that's the reason why you got to find those environments to actually initiate the mastermind, right? Because that collective awareness, that collective being, right? It's like very strongly developed in, let's just say, Eastern peoples, as an example. Like here in Japan, Japanese people have a very natural, homogeneous awareness. That's why they're able to achieve such great things, is because they have a group spirit, a unified field that goes deep into their blood, into their genetics, because they've literally evolved and coexisted and survived wars and cataclysms together for, you know, generations and generations. So it's in their blood to stick together. And you can look at the same with you know, companies or unique ethnic groups all around the world, like people who are, you know, connected to different regions of the planet, right? Ultimately, you have to learn how to navigate the social hierarchies of this world respectfully, to be able to actually achieve your goals. You know, a lot of us, we like to think very individualistically, like, oh, you know, we tend to give up on the social stratosphere. And we just end up being isolated. We end up not truly forgiving others. We end up not truly, sincerely, and lovingly opening to new opportunities. Because life breaks you down. You get tested by people for your limits, for your capacities. But inevitably, what you have to learn is you have to learn how to navigate the social spheres. Try to learn another language. You know, that opens a universe of potential. Because when you learn another language, you're actually entraining your mind to a whole another dimension of thought, a whole nother way of viewing the world and of creating the world through syntax, right? Because everything is vibration, everything is word play, right? What you say becomes reality, but if you say it in a different language, or if you learn how to empower yourself in a different language with a different cultural attitude, you then have a multidimensional way to exist in the world. For instance, you can speak English, but if you can speak Chinese, Mandarin for instance, and if you learn how to think like a Chinese and operate like a Chinese, you're now in two worlds at once. You know, you're able to actually navigate two huge worlds that have huge power for business, industry, for social networking, whatever it is. And I'm just using Chinese as like an example, but you know, you look at Japanese or Russian or I don't know. Be approachable as well as to be able to comfortably approach other people. Is you need to learn how to dress in a standard, clean, formal style in informal places. Like if you wear a suit or a nice dress, you know, polished shoes, you know, you take care and detail with how you dress and how you walk, and you go to a place that is above your pay grade, or you find the environments where certain people gather that are beyond what you're normally accustomed to. Because you look presentable and approachable, it is a lot easier to give off a positive first impression. You know, you might meet someone who's more experienced than you, wealthier than you, could in some sense be a teacher to you. But if you're dressed up in a hoodie and you're wearing a hat, like a cap, you know, and you're wearing like, I don't know, basketball shoes or something like that, 9 times out of 10, those small things, as physical as it might be, are going to dissipate from you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to think in terms of detail and the energy and the aura of style and how that conveys in a social setting, like very subtly, right? You might not be making a lot of money. You might not have a lot of connections. You might not even be that smart or that bright, but if you're just wearing something decent and you walk into a certain environment, you are 98% more likely to strike up a conversation or find a connection or meet someone new who might genuinely benefit your life. Do you know what I mean? And the third tip I would say is you got to learn how to empty your mind. Like truly empty your mind. Because your mind is full of programs. Most people are so programmed. They are so comfortable with a certain type of setting, certain type of there's all these layers of comfort and familiarity and routine that's built in their mind, and that mental structure is what they carry every single day. They move through life, everything. Sometimes, some days, or perhaps even most of the time, if you really look at it in a more productive sense, the more empty you are, the easier it is to actually perceive new patterns in your environment. If your mind is empty, ideas can flow, opportunities can arrive. And here's the other thing, is that people, almost everybody nowadays, are quite naturally in tune with sensing other people's awarenesses. We're all spiritual beings, right? So if your mind is full of BS, it's full of stress and tension and judgment and anger and resentment and all these negative impressions in your mind, when you meet someone important, or if you have the chance or the opportunity to, meet that girl or meet that person, or you're in the environment, in the proximity of powerful people or interesting people, those things that are filled in your mind, in the subconscious, in the quantum, blocks the possibility of fluid communication. Because if you were to talk to someone who really has their life together, they understand energy really well. So a lot of people, they will disassociate with you subconsciously if they subtly feel that there's any tension in your mind. Because no one wants to have to deal with negative people. No one wants to have to deal with people who are emotionally needy. That's why you have to learn every single day how to empty your mind. You got to clear your mind so that day to day, moment to moment, after work or whatever, even during work or whatever you're going through, that there's enough space within you to actually receive other people. Do you know what I mean? And receive knowledge from other people and opportunities from the universe, right? If you're in the mode in your life of actually trying to ascend to the next level, it could be another country, it could be a new job, it could be like a new state of mind, a new state of being, right? You have to look at your algorithm, and you have to look at your friends. Look at your closest 4 or 5 friends, and also look at your algorithm. Look at all of the posts that are popping up on your Instagram, on your Facebook, on your YouTube. And what you want to do is you want to reach in and delete every single or unfollow every single post or every single person who is not at least 2 or 3 levels above from where you are at. And it sounds harsh, but even if you have to just put that relationship on a break, you have to literally unfollow those posts. You have to unfollow those attractive women if they're not posting anything genuinely inspiring or genuinely informative or evolutionary to your development. Or those random entertainment based or gaming, whatever it might be, that's not actually helping your soul evolve, that's not helping you level up. You have to unfollow those accounts. And then you got to find the best of the best people and the best of the best organizations and companies at the very top of whatever stratus or nexus of that next level, that place you want to be at, that environment or that place. You got to find people that are already there and beyond it. You got to find companies and industries that are extremely wealthy, extremely functional, extremely cohesive, and you have to follow those accounts. You have to follow all of those powerful people, powerful accounts, and you have to then invite to your algorithm power and energy, wisdom, information, so that every single time you open your phone, boom, 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 there's just information, there's knowledge, there's just life-changing things every single time you open your phone. Discussed before with the whole mastermind thing. It's like when you're in the environment of 2 or 3 people, think about those friends that you have, that you meet up with, or even your partner, even your girlfriend. She might be beautiful, but if she's not helping you evolve, if she's not discussing with you big dreams, plans, ideas, if the dynamic of your friendships and your relationships is just based off comfort and leisure, leave it. If you want to evolve, if you want to move to the next levels, the next stages of your evolution and achieve higher levels of wealth, mentally, physically, spiritually, the only people you should ever interact with and discuss, talk, sit down at a table with are people who are expanding and capable of having expanding conversations, discussing ideas, not discussing events, not discussing people, no small talk. I'm talking solutions, helping the world, helping people, evolving your consciousness, developing new softwares, new technologies to improve the state of life on planet Earth. You got to find people who have a mission, who have a purpose. And if you surround yourself with people like that, the energy field, the ether, right? It builds, and then naturally, magic. Life begins to be shaped by that expanded energy field. Opportunities arise, right? Synchronicities form. Your wealth increases and you become smarter just by being in the proximity of people who are smart, or people who are smarter than you, because it's all energy fields. So it's like, just even without speaking, if you are in the proximity of someone who's actually genuinely at a higher level, vibrating on a higher level, if your heart and your mind is open, you're receiving those energies, and vice versa. If it's vice versa, it's building, it's amplifying, it's multiplying. That's how teamwork really works. That's how all of these great corporations and great companies and families are built. All these people and all of the success in the world is built upon combined, multiplied human energy fields, working as one, working as unison. I'm not trying to convince anyone to do anything like too drastic, like cutting off people that you love from your life, but at the very least, take a break from those people. If you really want to step up, and if you really want to test your friends, if you really want to test your girlfriend or your wife, tell them suddenly. Be like, hey, look, I'm going on a vacation to find myself. I'm going to go spend 3 months, 6 months doing my thing. I'll go to the Himalayas. I'll go to Sweden. I'll go to Japan. I'll go to Australia. I don't know. I'll start a new job, or I'll start some schooling, some meditation course, something. Just give them some excuse to leave you alone for a little bit. 3 to 6 months. Build yourself and then come back and see how they treat you, see how they welcome you, see what kind of questions they ask you. See what kind of questions they ask you. Read their consciousness and feel at all if they thought well of you, if they prayed for you, if they were concerned about you, if they, were really hoping and wishing for your return. Because it's in that moment that you will actually feel and see if they are really the real ones. Do you know what I mean? Because real family, real friends will welcome you back. They'll sit you down, they'll talk to you, they'll really ask you and make you feel welcomed in their world again. If they're like, oh, I was alone, if they start acting selfish and they start talking more about themselves and their feelings without acknowledging your growth and what you're trying to do for your life, what you're trying to do for your world, building yourself, you know what I mean? Then cut them off. Simple. Think about, this is a very difficult subject, but think about all of the wasted time, the wasted energy, the wasted relationships, all of these marriages and all the stuff that people go through. And it's very difficult. But it can all be resolved earlier on if you just learn how to see how people honor you when you're gone for a little bit. You know what I mean? Because the real test of a relationship, the real test of loyalty is patience and prayerfulness when you're gone. And you got to realize loyalty is royalty. The real ones are loyal to you in spirit. When you're going through something difficult, when you're alone, when you're broken, when you're poor, when you're broke, look at how your family, your wife, your girlfriend, the people around you treat you. It's right then and there that you can test and see their loyalty for you. You know what I mean? So anyway, it's a pretty deep topic, but I'm just discussing these things because, I'm reflecting a lot on life now that, I'm spending a lot of time alone, of course. I'm building softwares, I'm building my brand, this YouTube, I'm working a job, and I'm also building myself here in Japan, and I'm doing it alone. Not to say that it's something to be proud of, but I'm just sharing with you this subject, this topic, because this is the unique place at where I'm at right now in my life, you know what I mean? Like when you get real in your world, when you actually do what you're supposed to do, when you actually forge your path, when you move towards the directions of your dreams, especially if those dreams involve helping humanity, you will be faced with resistance and adverse reactions from the world. Your friends, your family, the teachers, your people around you are going to genuinely doubt you, reject you, block you. They will subconsciously imagine you failing in a lot of the time, because you see, it is only the ones who have mastered their path, mastered the spirit, mastered their mind, that can actually genuinely wish well for you and imagine you successful, imagine you truly happy, truly wealthy, truly free. And those people are rare. You got to realize that's the reason why when you move to a new country, or when you experience expansion in your life, or when you're building a new company, or when you're doing something really difficult, perhaps for the first time or whatever it might be, you have to be a concentrated field of energy and hyper focus. And you have to be the ultimate source of your own belief. You have to be the source of your own godliness. You have to be the source of everything you need and want. It comes from within you. Because they say the kingdom is within. Find the kingdom, all other things come into place. All things just simply function, work, synchronize, harmonize. You know what I mean? That exile, that isolation, that loneliness that you feel when you come to a place like Japan. You know, a lot of these foreigners, God bless them, but a lot of them, they end up into this similar cycle where they come to Japan and they end up being lonely, they end up being isolated, they end up going through all these different, social challenges and things like that. What they don't always realize is that the spirit, the true original spirit of Bushido, the true Japanese spirit, is to be loyal to your master, loyal to your teacher, loyal to the hierarchical essence of the force, whatever it might be in different situations. Could be your company, it could be your teacher, it could be your sensei at a dojo, whatever it might be. There's different kind of diversifications of that spirit. But a lot of people forget that you have to risk dying and losing everything in order to protect your vision, your essence. And if your purpose involves helping other people or protecting other people, that is going to be even more. It's going to be like Atlas carrying the world on his shoulders. Like you're going to be crushed. You're going to be crushed spiritually, physically, mentally. You might have hardships that you can't even comprehend, you can't even imagine. But that is the spirit of the Japanese. They are so selfless. In the most part, they live and die for each other. That's what makes the Japanese spirit so beautiful and so strong, is that the fact that they live and die for their family, for their clan, for their master. And if you're a foreigner and you come to a place like Japan, you got to kind of look at it in two ways. Either you are your own master in terms of an ultimate ego, like you're serving your own purposes. You just want to start a family, you want to start a business, you want to start all these typical modern normal perspective of living in the world. You live for yourself. Ultimately, it's a selfish life. Respectfully so. And the other side of that is living with a selflessness to protect the weaker, to actually uplift people and to guide other people and to truly help common man, common woman, And if you come to a place like Japan, or if you even, it could be any country, it doesn't have to be Japan, it could be America, it could be, it's actually ultimately universal when you look at it on a human basis. But if you live and you die for your brother, if you live and you die for your country, your culture, and for the principles that represents, that energizes your spirit, and it energizes the spirit of everyone included. It's ultimately a beautiful thing. It's a synergy, right? That's what it is. But if you live selfishly, if you live only for yourself, you're only interested in your own goals, you're only interested in profiting and benefiting yourself, you're only interested in, I don't know, finding someone or finding friends or just trying to feel happy, trying to feel good, all these, things. You're living on a lower human level, whether you're aware of it or not. There are different levels of being human. You got to realize there's always going to be a hierarchy to the human enterprise, the human existence. The hierarchy is very easy to understand. Okay, at the top is the ineffable, is the spirit. Below the ineffable is the world of the gods. Okay, they say it is Taka Magahara, right? The higher kingdom, right? Is the realm, the abode of the gods, right? And every culture, every world, every cultural, they have different words for these things. Some people call it heaven, some people call it, Tengoku, some people call it the celestial world, or the world of the asuras, or the devas. But you got to think of it like this: below the ineffable are layers leading down into the human kingdom on earth. Okay, and in this upper region is a ever present cosmic reality. Okay, and below that is the middle world, what we describe as the human world here, right? Ashihara no Nakatsukuni, the middle land, the middle kingdom. This is like the place where souls and humans integrate and live normal lives on earth, right? In the human kingdom, in the human world, the hierarchy mirrors heaven. They say, as above, so below. Okay, so as above, so below. You have the earthly world is always mirroring the dramas, the affairs, the stories of the gods. And this is a very, very big subject that it can go into biblical and various ancient texts talk about all these different, and I'm not going to go into it fully right now, though I love this topic. In the human hierarchy on earth, you got to realize that the people who live closest to the ineffable, meaning the closest to the universal spirit, right? The spirit of Christ, the spirit of Buddha, the spirit of the ancient masters, right? Spirit serves others. It's administrative, right? It has the ability to command and convey and transmit light, information to the world upon all of its biological domains as well, meaning that birds, animals, beasts, insects, the fishes, they all respond and resonate with the energy of those higher administrative beings, right? Those enlightened masters throughout time. Ultimately, those beings tend to get martyred. They tend to live brutal lives. They end up, being often troubled, right? They end up going to war and having to battle everything out for the rest of us, when you really think about it, right? Below the masters is the scribes and the priests. Okay, the scribes and the priests take all of that energy, all of that information, and make it available and sort of recordable through history. That's why today the highest paid jobs, it's all IT, software development, people in big tech, people developing stuff, that's essentially modern scribes. The modern day scribe is the modern day programmer, right? And the modern day programmer is using code to develop intelligent softwares, intelligent machines that now are running the world. The people below, meaning the commoners, right? The laborers, the people who transport the goods and live ordinary human lives, they tend to fear the power of the code and the machines because they don't fully understand it. Because in the past, it was almost a curse. It's like it was that level people stayed away from. You know, most people stayed away from the hardcore spirituality, you know, the hardcore scholarly life, because it was difficult, you know. Whether it's like you look at, you know, China, or you look at Japan, or you look at Korea, or you look at these different sort of ancient, the people are, it's extremely competitive and extremely difficult to be the one who writes the code, because the code constructs the systems in which the society and the civilization smoothly functions, right? Below the scribes, below the priests who are using words, who are using prayers, who are using various instruments to inscribe and enshrine meaning, is you have the architects, okay? The architects and the builders. And architects, you have the builders, and you have, like, you know, the sort of the nurses, the doctors, the lawyers, all these different people who then, you know, carry out the larger functions of society that we all need, right? You have to realize that when you start a new life, when you come to a new country, when you start something new, from the very beginning, you have to feel what archetype you want to be and what you want to role play. You have to choose this. You have to select with your consciousness what you want to be. Of course, the society is going to constantly tell you otherwise. You know, your parents will tell you you should be a doctor, or, you know, you should take the family business and do this and that, or, you know, there are various opportunities and voices that will tell you. But you have to be the one to decide what you want to be. And you have to live and die for it. You have to live and die for it with honor in order to serve the larger body, right? The hierarchical field. Because it's all interconnected, like a system, like a circuit, right? Your actions, your words, your problem-solving abilities, your contribution in that pursuit of being that ultimate player, domain, whether it's the architect or the programmer or the warrior or the priest or the healer, all these different things. You have to remember that you are serving others. You are serving the world. That should be the number one thing that empowers you to keep moving forward. That should be the basis of your inspiration. The basis of your inspiration should be serving not only mankind, but heaven. There's also a dichotomy to that as well, serving hell, serving the underworld, but that is a choice as well, because you got to realize that prism I just talked about, that hierarchy, also has its reverse aspect, leading down to the, darkest regions of existence, right? So it's a choice. You have to make that choice, and you have to live honorably, meaning whatever suffering you go through, whatever pain you bear, this is for others. This is for all of the people in the world who are suffering more than you are, or like your family, even your ancestors, the spiritual essences of your forefathers, they might still be stuck. They might be reincarnated in new bodies in some other regions of the planet. They could be your friend in this lifetime. You never know. The universe is very diverse like that, the multiverse. So that's the reason why you have to live selflessly. You have to constantly give your best in whatever field that you feel you want to pioneer in. Even if people laugh at you, even if people talk badly about you, even if the gods laugh, the mortal eventually rises. You got to realize, just like a sapling, right? Through the numerous lives and experiences of an ordinary human being, eventually there are layers and existences beyond that permeate into other existences beyond this world. That sounds kind of beyond, but I'm telling you, that's how I feel it to be true. They say even the highest angels in heaven fall, and even the lowest, most broken, dangerous, sort of dark energies will eventually rise to heaven. This is this cycle, cycle of life, right? Universal cycle of life. It's constantly going on, right? It's constantly going on for eternity, forever. So you're linking the universal with the physical, and you're asking your heart, what is the right thing? If your heart is free of selfishness, if it's free of jealousy, anger, lust, guilt, if you cleanse your heart and you ask your heart purely, your heart will always show you the right way. Because they say the kingdom is within, right? The kingdom is within you. The highest heavens, the highest, most brightest, beautiful things exist and coexist within you. You have to let go of fear. You have to let go of doubt. You have to let go of what other people tell you is wrong or dangerous or difficult, or you should avoid. You have to do the work. You have to sometimes stumble down the mountain in order to learn how to use your own feet, your legs, your balance. You know what I mean? When climbing the mountain, always look down. Don't look at the peak. You have to, with humbleness, you have to stay grounded. You have to watch your feet. You have to watch where you're going. You have to be in the moment, right now, right here. It's difficult rising up. You will eventually get to a peak at various points of your life. But what they don't tell you is the descent. Once you make it, once you become that legendary role-playing character at some high level, whatever it might be, you then have a responsibility. You have to carry all of that wisdom, that knowledge, that energy, that power, that experience, and all of the karma with you down the mountain. Going down the mountain is just as dangerous and difficult, because if you trip up, you might end up falling and tumbling down and really hurting yourself. How do we keep weightless? How do we carry the weight? How do we learn the art of rising and falling? It's a matter of breathing, right? Like, it's a matter of learning how to move, but also how to pause, right? Timing is the key to perfect movement, because if you keep moving, you might end up, overheating the engine. You have to stop and you have to empty the files. Like, you have to stop and you have to reflect. You have to stop and you got to take out your pen and you got to do some scribing, you know what I mean? And get really quiet in your mind, so that when you move again, there are no obstacles inside. There's no fear, there's no doubt. It's the same thing in your algorithm, same thing in your social circles, same thing in practically anything, everything. We gotta live with purpose, we gotta live with intent, direct ourselves, so we can eventually make it. Because the world is in a very seemingly unstable place, right? There's so much change, so many things happening, there's so much stress. A lot of people are losing their, they're losing their, what I would describe as spiritual purity, spiritual concentratedness, right? What I'm constantly doing is I'm concentrating myself every single day. I'm concentrating on my mission. Making these videos is a huge part of my mission.